give the committee an update on Senate Bill 245, which we worked yesterday. It was blessed yesterday. So we're in continued discussions and with how to properly proceed with that bill. So it will be taken back up next time the committee meets, which will be after next week sometime. Let's turn our attention to Senate Bill 37. Which we heard back on February the 2nd. It is the producer licensing bill. Eileen, can you give us an overview, please?
I sure can. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee. Senate Bill 37 was the licensure bill. As we recall, Section 1 amended KSA 40-241 pertaining to the examination of individual applicants for agents' licenses. This was the one that kind of eliminated the reset of the applicant kind of cycle where they had to wait for a 2-year period before or after failing the exam 4 times and having to wait for 2 years before trying again. Section 2 amended KSA 2020 sub 40-4902. This amended the definition of biennial due date to specify that it was the last day of the birth month of a licensed agent, or the last day of the month of initial licensure for a registered business entity. Section 3 amended KSA 2020 sub 40-4903, amending the number of CEs to renew a license. This current law requires 12 CEs. This would amend it to the agent would need to pay a $4 fee and earn a minimum hold on one sec. So, okay, current law requires a licensed insurance agent who is an individual and holds a property or casualty qualification or both, or a personal lines qualification to earn a minimum of 12 CEs in courses certified as property and casualty that include at least 1 hour of ethics. And current law also requires a licensed insurance agent who is an individual and holds a life, accident, and health or variable contracts qualification or any combination to earn a minimum of 12 CEs in courses certified as life, accident, and health or variable contracts that include at least 1 hour in ethics. So this bill would amend the requirements to require on and after January 1 of 2022 to require agents to earn 18 CEs that include at least 3 hours of ethics that also may include regulatory compliance. I'm sorry, I wanted to break out the 2 different categories. Section 4 amended KSA 2020 sub 40-4905 pertaining to applications for resident insurance agent licensure. This pertained to the disclosures made by licensed persons or entities, and added the certain items that licensees needed to disclose, including disciplinary actions on a licensee's license, changes of address, items of that sort. Section 5 amended KSA 2020 sub 40-4909 pertaining to the commissioner's power to deny an application or suspend, revoke, or refuse to renew a licensee's license if the commissioner deems that the applicant or licensee engaged in certain behaviors. The amendment added the applicant's failure to respond to an inquiry from the commissioner within 15 business days. It also added a number of items that the commissioner would take into consideration when deciding whether to grant or renew a license. Section 6 amended KSA 2020 sub 40-4912 pertaining to the appointment of agents. Under current law, certification of anyone other than a licensed insurance agent would automatically include a licensed agent who is an officer, director, partner, or employee. Effective, again, January 1, 2022. The bill would remove the requirement that those individuals or entities be certified and also remove and the certification fee. Section 7 amends KSA 2020 sub 40-4915 pertaining to the renewal of insurance agents' licenses. This allows the commissioner to suspend the agent's license for 90 days if the agent doesn't apply for renewal by the biennial due date, and also allows the commissioner to assess a $100 penalty for each license suspended. If the agent fails to reapply for after 90 days, but before 12 months are up, the agent needs to pay a $100 reinstatement fee per license. After 12 months have passed and the agent wants to reinstate the license, the agent would need to submit proof of CE completion and pay the reinstatement fee. Section 8 amends KSA 2020 sub 40-5505 pertaining to the public adjusters licenses. The amendments here grant the commissioner the authority to require that the applicant for a public adjuster's license be fingerprinted and submit to a state and national criminal history record check or background check, or both, at the applicant's expense. Section 9 also pertains to the public adjusters licenses. The adjustments here pertain to the biennial due date and CE requirements to be consistent with the changes made to the Uniform Insurance Agents Licensing Act. And that is the sum and total of this very long licensing bill.
Thank you, Eileen. Appreciate it. Okay, committee, we're going to work 37. Is there a motion to pass out favorably, and then we can get into discussion? Olson moves. Ag seconds. Discussion? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reviser ended with the words "very long licensing bill." When you look at 37, an act concerning insurance relating to producer licensing requirements, agent conduct pertaining to examinations, fees, renewal dates, suspension and revocation or denial of licensure renewal, and amends several portions of Chapter 40. We all, as we know, have different areas as legislators of expertise. We've got legislators who understand agriculture. We've got legislators who lawyers, they understand the law. We got auto mechanics, car salesmen, insurance agents, real estate brokers, bankers, and I could go on and on. I'm not going to. But my point in mentioning all of that is, as I mentioned at the very outset of our committee meetings early in the year, I'm not an expert in the insurance arena, but I have been doing this for over 40 years. This is a very extensive bill. I think we need to take a very close look at it, and anything I say or any amendment that I may offer today is not a jab at any current, past, or future commissioner, and that's one thing that we do need to remember as we look at this legislation. It's not just for our current insurance commissioner. It also would apply to future insurance commissioners. The name Fletcher Bell probably means nothing to hardly anyone in this room, but Fletcher Bell was the insurance commissioner when I first became licensed in 1979. Section 4 and 5 of this bill have significant new language, maybe even significant authority for our insurance commissioner. And I have found it interesting, Mr. Chairman, as I have visited with legislators and others outside of the legislature regarding 37 and insurance agents licensing, at some of the misunderstanding or unknowns of the industry. So I will give a little brief information I think is relevant, very relevant to our discussion and toward what I'm going to look at today. When you boil it all down, there are two lines of insurance licensing. Basically, there are more, but there are two primary ones. You've got your life and health, and you've got your property and casualty. You can be licensed life and health or property and casualty or both, but you must take an examination to become licensed life and health and a separate examination to be licensed property and casualty. So single line agents, whether they are life and health only or property and casualty only, are restricted to that area of expertise. I'm a life insurance agent only. I don't write health. I could. I'm licensed to write health, but that's a choice I have made. I know I have visited with a lot of clients, policyholders, potential policyholders over the last 40-plus years. Frequently, someone who I have built a rapport with will ask me a question about their auto insurance or their homeowner's insurance and want me to look at their policy. I cannot do that. I am not licensed, so if I give them any advice, any direction on their car insurance, their homeowner's insurance, anything that has to do with property and casualty, I have stepped out of line and out of my authority of licensing. And if I should say anything to them and they make a change on their policy and then a claim or something happen, I would be liable and I would have nothing to stand on because I am not licensed to talk about property and casualty, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, even though as a friend I'm glad to talk to people, but I stress and I look, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not licensed in this arena, so I can't talk about that. I stress that, committee, so you will understand we've got two different agents here. Now, some agents are combined. They have a life and health and property and casualty. But there are a lot who have one or the other. There are a lot of life insurance agents only, and there are a lot of health insurance agents only. We've got several changes in this bill as it relates to particularly continuing education. And then there are some fees in here that I'm not a fan of. There is quite extensive language as it relates to our insurance commissioner, current and future, going forward. It lists in definitions several different lines of insurance that an agent can be licensed. However, they're going to be licensed primarily as life and health or property and casualty. There is a talk in here about pre-need. I contacted our research department, Mr. Chairman, and I asked three basic questions, and I apologize to the committee. I didn't think in time. I should have gotten each one of you a copy of the answers from legislative research. The three questions I asked are whether the licensing exam required for pre-need only insurance agents is the same as that required for any other life insurance agent. I ask, are there states that allow an exemption or waiver of continuing education requirements for insurance agents based on age, longevity of service, or both? And I also ask, are there states that have a classification of pre-need only agents, and do they have different licensing or continuing education requirements? I have some amendments that I think some are fairly simple, basic, that should be fairly straightforward. And I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if you want to have me get them walking around and hand them out, or have the secretary hand them out, or just slide them to each.
Suzanne can hand them.
Thank you. The very first one is simple. This is on line 13. There is significant new language as it relates to the authority of the insurance commissioner and insurance agents. And it talks about each person or entity licensed in this state as an insurance agent shall report the following to the commissioner within 30 calendar days of occurrence. That's fine. However, I had an experience recently I'd never even thought of. But the amendment would simply strike on line 38, the words email address. The reason is, Mr. Chairman, people on a regular basis, and you may not, but some of us have, changed our email address. I never thought once about the need that I might need to tell the insurance department of a change of email address. So I realize this is going forward, but I don't do email. When I do insurance, it's face-to-face, person-to-person. Sorry, I'm old-fashioned. I still wear a suit and a tie when I go make insurance calls. I don't wear just an open-collar jacket. But, so I thought that there is no, that I see, penalty here for not notifying, but I thought, well, there's really no need in having the words strike or the words email address. I don't mind. If I move, yes, I know I need to change with the insurance department, let them know. So the amendment that I have here is simply, Mr. Chairman, to strike the words email address, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on the amendment? See none. Your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I would move that we amend Senate Bill 37 by striking the words on page 13 and line 38, email address.
All those in favor of the amendment say, no, that's, thank you. Is there a second? Senator Gossage seconds. All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those opposed? The noes appear to have it. Amendment fails. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hopefully, that's not an omen to what we're going to expect, because we could be here quite a lengthy amount of time, and that's not my desire. Honestly, that is not my desire. My desire is, as an insurance agent, to help the insurance industry and our constituents be better served. I do have an amendment that I'm going to, again, hand out and let the committee assistant hand out. This is on page 18. This has to do with an applicant for an insurance license who has been denied a license, and in that, this is all new language, and in that same section, on that same page, a license, an insurance agent license who has had their license revoked. And I asked, and I didn't get a satisfactory answer, so I thought, well, let's go ahead and see if we can make some adjustments here. But you can see the wording in the italics language: an applicant whose license has been denied after a hearing shall not apply for a license again until after the expiration of a period of 1 year from the date of the commissioner's order. And I, in this amendment, am going to say that we should strike "or such other period of time as the commissioner may prescribe." That is, to me, it gives too much uncertainty. Okay, is it going to be for 1 month if the commissioner decides? Or is it going to be for 20 years if the commissioner decides? And I know those are absurd numbers. The commissioner would not do that, I'm confident. Our current commissioner or any future commissioner would. So just simply striking, and basically what we're saying is, if you have applied for a license and done what you need to do, but yet you are denied a license, for 1 year, you just stand down. And then the next paragraph is, if you have been licensed and the insurance department, for some reason or another, has revoked your license, it says that you cannot apply for a license again until after the expiration of a period, in this italicized language, 5 years. 5 years is a long time. So I think 2 years is a reasonable amount of time, and most likely, committee, if you've had your license revoked and you cannot get it for 2 years, you're going to move on and do something else. So that is a part of the amendment to strike 5 years, to make it 2 years, and again, then strike the language that gives or such other time period as the commissioner may prescribe. And again, because as I read that, I'm not an attorney, but as I read this, it's saying that you cannot, in current, as the way the bill is written, cannot apply for having your license reinstated for 5 years. But if the commissioner decides to make it 1 year, that's fine. If the commissioner decides to make it 20 years, that's fine. So I think we're better served to have it in statute for 2 years. You can, and this way the commissioner also has the opportunity to say, well, statute says I cannot waive that 2-year requirement. And if someone says, well, I'm sorry, please have mercy on me. I know I messed up. I lost my license, but that's my way I make a living. The commissioner can say, well, you can't for 2 years. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Senator Peck, for bringing these amendments, and I know you've got a lot of experience here, so I do respect that. I'm not opposed to this. I don't understand why one would typically one would get revoked if one is doing something not ethical, not legal. Is that the kind of, or is it because of, hey, I didn't pay my fee, so I got my license revoked? What's the kind of nature of these revocations, if I may? Can I ask?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great question. Primarily, it would be because you did something illegal, immoral, but it could be that you failed to pay your fees, you failed to meet requirements, and your license was lapsed or revoked because you failed to meet requirements in statute. So it would be one of either two reasons.
Mr. Chair, I mean, I'm not opposed to this. I mean, it seems like there could be some leeway on either side of this thing, so I might support this one.
Can I ask the agency a question, or
I'd rather not.
rather not? The only challenge I have with it is if someone did something intentionally to defraud someone, you're lowering the bar. I do understand your concern. 5 years seems like a long time, but the commissioner's gonna, slap someone's hand for something like this for 5 years. They did some intentional fraud or damage to someone. You're never gonna see it probably until the end of the claim or when someone, until, the insurance policy, someone dies and then if someone's trying to fix that because there's been some fraud, I don't know. I mean, this is a tough one. I mean, I definitely hear your concern. You're putting someone out of business, but at the same time, I don't think the commissioner would go this far to suspend someone for 5 years unless they committed an act.
Mr. Chair.
Eileen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Section 5 of the bill, if everyone has the bill in front of them, pages 15 through page 18, line 16, are the different reasons why the commissioner may deny, suspend, revoke, or refuse renewal of any license issued under the Act. So the commissioner has a number of different things that the commissioner may do before moving towards revocation of a license. I just wanted to point that out to the committee.
Thank you, Eileen. Additional comments or questions on the amendment? Senator Hildebrand?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just to talk a little bit about the fraudulent things, I don't know an insurance company. That's part of your application process whenever you apply to be contracted with an insurance agency. If you ever committed fraud or anything on insurance, you would never be able to be contracted with that insurance company because it's one of the things that they do look at. I should not say never, but it is highly unlikely that if you ever committed fraud as an insurance agent that you would ever be able to attain a contract again.
Additional questions? Senator Peck, do you want to move your amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate Senator Olson's comment and Senator Hildebrand as well, and that's pretty much it. If you have your license revoked, you're done, for the most part, not 100%, and it depends on how egregious your conduct is. There's other language on page 16 I'm not going to touch, but it really is extensive, and so I'm not going to mention that if you want to look at it, but my thought, again, is let's give the commissioner some specific guidelines, and this is the way that the legislation can read, and then after, because currently, you can see this is new language, it's not currently in language. If the commissioner then says, you know, this is just not working this way, the commissioner can come back, and I'm sure that the legislature will listen to the commissioner's argument as to why this should or should not be in there. But with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we amend Senate Bill 37 on page 18 with the balloon that I have presented.
Is there a second? Senator Hildebrand, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Amendment is adopted. Senator Peck? Before you go on, I know we have a number of people here that are interested in Senate Bill 199, the hearing, both in present and online. I want to probably tell you that we're probably not going to get to it. So if you're welcome to stay, you're welcome to stay online, but it appears that we are probably not going to consider 199 today. Senator Peck, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I do apologize to the individuals who are in the room or online who were specifically planning on being conferees on Senate Bill 199. I do hope that we get to that bill at some point. I told you that I had asked our revisers a question, our research department three different questions: whether a pre-need insurance agent is required to take the same exam as a life insurance agent, and the answer is yes. Pre-need only, and I'm quoting from the research department, pre-need only insurance agents take the life insurance exam. Before that, they said the Kansas Insurance Department confirmed that pre-need agents. So my point is, we've got in statute something that has not been correct for about 6 years is when it was first put in. We have life insurance products, and you can see in the bill, they are listed, or it's mentioned on page 6 about pre-need funeral insurance, which is a limited line insurance that allows for the purchase of life insurance or annuity contract by or on behalf of the insured solely to fund, I stress those words, a pre-need contract arrangement with a funeral. Now, just for the benefit of the committee, a pre-need contract is a life insurance contract. You take a life insurance contract through generally a funeral home, but a lot of times it's a life insurance agent who's out beating the streets to sell this product. In statute, we say that it's solely to fund. That's not quite correct. It can be used for whatever the beneficiary should determine. For example, if my dad has a pre-need insurance policy with a funeral home, he passes away, I don't have to use that funeral home. And I don't have to use, let's say it's a $10,000 policy, I don't have to use all $10,000 for his funeral. I have the flexibility to use a different funeral home or crematory, and I can decide, you know, Dad wanted this, and I don't agree with Dad. Most people do agree with the deceased loved ones, but you don't have to. So they can then, if Dad had a $10,000 funeral, he wanted it this way, I, as the beneficiary of the policy, even though it's irrevocable, assigned to the funeral home, that funeral home will release the proceeds to another funeral home. But I can decide, okay, I'm going to have Dad cremated, I'm going to spend $3,000, so there's $7,000 on that policy. That money would come to me. So when it says in statute solely to fund a pre-need contract, well, that might be the intent, but that's not the requirement, because it can be used for something else. These pre-need insurance agents are agents who took an exam the same as any other life insurance agent, whether you're selling large term, universal life, flexible premium, all kinds of different life insurances that are out there. They took the same exact exam. Currently in statute, they take 0 continuing education. Once they are a life insurance agent who says, I'm only going to write pre-need insurance, they're not required to take any continuing education hours. I don't believe that's right for our constituents, for policyholders, or for other life insurance agents. So therefore, I have an amendment that I believe would be the right thing for us to do. It is on, if you want to turn in the bill, if you have the bill. It makes several changes, Mr. Chairman, on page 8. You will see in paragraph 5, it talks about each licensed insurance agent who is an individual and holds a life insurance license solely for the purpose of selling pre-need funeral insurance or annuity contracts shall file a report on or before such agent's biennial due date affirming that such agent transacted no other insurance business during the period by the report. So basically they're saying, trust me, I didn't write any other insurance. I'm an insurance agent, and you are in your occupation. Not every insurance agent, not everyone in your occupation is 100% honest. So the first thing is to strike upon the request of the insurance commissioner. So what this is saying is prior to the legislation we passed about 6 years ago, if you were a pre-need insurance agent, you had to get a letter from your insurance company stating you only wrote pre-need, meaning small face amount life insurance policies. You did not write large life insurance policies. Currently, it's on the honor system. But the commissioner can request that you provide, so I'm taking it out that the commissioner, so when you apply for your renewal, you provide certification from an officer of your insurance company or companies that you only wrote pre-need. That, I believe, adds a level of honesty to it. And then the next thing is each insurance agent who has offered to sell or sold any pre-need funeral insurance, who is, and this is my words, not, and you can read the language, who is also a funeral director or embalmer or both, they will continue to be exempt from continuing education requirements, because currently these life insurance agents who are out beating the streets, replacing life insurance policies, and I could give you examples. I won't, Mr. Chairman, because we've only got an hour. No, we don't even have an hour now.
You have 10 minutes.
Okay.
We are going to vote this bill out today.
Well, at least we're going to vote on it.
We're going to vote on it.
Okay. And if I don't get to my amendments, and again, it's not my intent to filibuster or delay, but it's my intent for everyone to understand. But the reason I bring this amendment, Mr. Chairman, is I ask the question, do other states allow a waiver or exempt pre-need insurance agents from requirements of continuing education? I don't know, but some specifically do require that they take continuing education unless they are a funeral director or embalmer or both. So what I'm saying here is if you're an employee at a funeral home and you're licensed to write pre-need, God bless you, that's fine. You don't have to take continuing education. Your main business is being a funeral director or embalmer. But if you are out writing life insurance policies, pre-need insurance policies, you are in the insurance arena. You should have to take the same continuing education requirements as the rest of us. Matter of fairness. I'll be glad to answer questions, Mr. Chairman.
Are there questions? Senator Gossage?
I just want to concur. I think all insurance is pre-need by definition. However, this particular niche, there is nothing that could prevent someone from writing a $50,000, $100,000 policy when really they've had no continuing education. All they did was pass a test. It's concerning for lots of agents out there. And so putting in this type of language, I think, is a safeguard for all the people who are buying insurance at a very difficult, trying time in their lives. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I apologize. I have not drafted this balloon properly. I misunderstood Senator Peck's request. So if the committee votes to approve this amendment, I would request a little bit of leeway to properly reflect the senator's wishes. It would just be a slight amendment that would say agents who are either a funeral director licensed under KSA 65-1714 or an embalmer licensed under KSA 65-1702 are exempt under the requirements to obtain CECs.
That's fine. We'll give you that leeway.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Peck, you want to move your amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the reviser saying that because I thought the wording was not what I would have written, but I'm not a reviser. So I trust that you understand what we're discussing here and what we're trying to do as a matter of fairness. So I would move that we amend Senate Bill 37 on page 8 with this balloon that I have presented.
Is there a second? Gossage seconds. Any discussion? Senator Pittman?
I appreciate once again you bringing this to the attention. I do oppose this right now. I've got a number of funeral directors who do offer these policies. We have carve-outs here for self-storage units, bail bonds, and travel insurance. You know, I hear what you're saying, that these could be used, they could be abused. I don't know of anybody who is abusing them. I trust that you probably do, but I don't. We haven't heard from anybody who said that this was a problem in the hearings, so I'm going to stand with the language as is inside of this, of the current piece, and then at a later date, I would love to come in and see on a secondary bill next year, see if this really is an issue to kind of address it for our constituents.
Senator Olson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too, I'm not going to support it. I haven't heard any concerns. And basically, I think when I was looking through the testimony, we had all proponents on the bill. I haven't heard any opposition to the bill until now. So I really think what we ought to do is vote this amendment down. And I think we ought to proceed taking this bill to the floor. And if you got issues, I think maybe that might be more of a proper place to debate it. But I think we're in the last few minutes here. And Chairman gave them a lot of leeway. I think we ought to try to get this bill out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
For questions on the amendment? All those in favor say aye. Thought you had, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will be brief in my close, but Senators, you just heard someone complain about it. And if you were here in the House when this passed, you would have heard of a big fight on the floor of the House. But because a particular lobbyist misinformed, and I know that same lobbyist probably got to each one of you, got ahead of me, stating that funeral directors aren't going to like this. Well, I'm exempting funeral directors. I'm exempting licensed funeral directors and embalmers. So I'm only saying if you are a licensed insurance agent who's out there writing life insurance policies and replacing life insurance policies, hey, you need the same training as the rest of us have. And it may fail, but thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to close. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The noes appear to have it. Division has been requested. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Amendment fails. Senator Peck, do you have one you can do in 3 minutes?
I can. That will really cut out a lot of what I was going to say, but I appreciate that.
Rather bring it to the floor?
No, the reason I'm bringing it here, we heard on the floor last week that if you're a member of a committee, you should be putting on amendments in committee, or at least attempting to. And so
I agree, but today is the last day, last scheduled day, so we can either bring the committee back tomorrow or we can vote the bill out today. But this bill is getting out of committee if the votes are there. This bill passed the House 123-0 with no amendments. So I want to give you all the time, but we do need to act on this today.
I understand, Mr. Chairman, the fact that the House passed this without discussion. I had been contacted by the chair of the House Insurance Committee. He said, we need to talk about this bill. And I said, great, give me a call, and he never did.
Okay.
And so the last amendment that I have here would be to, it's got two portions to it, the front and back, and it simply would make it so that if you are a single-line agent, your continuing education requirements would not change. So in other words, if you're a life and health, which is a single line, or property and casualty, you would remain at 12 hours. If you are licensed both, in the bill, currently, you're going from 24 down to 18. As a matter of fairness, if dual licensed agents are being reduced in CE, single line agents should be reduced. I'm not reducing it. I'm just leaving it exactly where it is. And the same way on the back, as you will see for a public adjuster, they're going from, and they don't even write insurance, hardly at all, public adjusters, and we won't get into what they are for time's sake, but again, this would just say that if you are currently at 12 hours, you will stay at 12 hours. If you are currently at 24, the bill allows you to drop down to 18. Again, a matter of fairness, because the continuing education requirements, as a life insurance agent, I can take property and casualty continuing education, which is of zero use to me, and meet this continuing education requirements. So I'm saying let's just leave it at 12. I would move my amendment.
Mr. Chair, we lost sound.
Do you have it now?
Oh, much better. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So that is one of the reasons why the insurance department proposed going to 18 hours for all of the licensed agents, so that there was not a bifurcated system and they could implement this particular system. Was one of the reasonings for them wanting to do that. So, any further discussion on the amendment? Senator Gossage?
Yes, to make this quick, you can see why dual agents, which are primarily property casualty agents, would be in favor of going from 24 hours of CE down to 18. However, you can also see why single agents, which are basically health and life agents, do not want to have to pay for additional CE hours. And on behalf of the health and life agents all across the state of Kansas, not the opportunity to present this to committee before it was brought before this committee. And so I cannot vote for it in this state, representing those agents across the state. However, I understand that they would rather use NIPR than to continue, or NIPR, to continue to process these CE credits within the department as they have been. I think it's unfortunate that NIPR simplifies it when it really doesn't make sense, but I do know that there are lots of states that are currently using that. I understand the rationale of wanting to move that out of the department and to contract with NIPR to do that portion.
Okay, thank you. I will also point out to the committee, I've been told from the insurance department that 12 hours of CE is the lowest in the nation. And if we go to 18 hours, we will be the second lowest in the nation on required CEs. Is the information I've been given. There's a motion. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One last brief comment, and I will provide this information to all of you from research. A lot of states across the United States do not have uniform CE hours within their state. And so for us to not have uniform hours, again, if CEs provide any benefit to policyholders or to agents, I'd be up here encouraging them. But because they provide no benefit, we are trained by our companies. If there are any changes in law statutes, we are trained and told by that through bulletins. And so because we're running out of time, I will not belabor the fact, but I will provide each of you with this document. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The noes appear to have it. Amendment fails. All right, on the base bill, as amended, because we have adopted it, is there a motion? Gibson moves, Pittman seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Would you like to be recorded? Gossage and Peck wish to be recorded as a no. Committee, thank you for your work. We are adjourned.